Okay, day 135. This is part 2 on how to catch a spy. I've talked about Hillary in the past giving weapons to Muslim Brotherhood with stingers and sarin gas and so forth, and where that leads and how things get out of control. Today there was another release by the CIA and WikiLeaks for Vault 7, where these cyber tools, cyber weapons really, $100 billion worth have gotten out from the intelligence community to the hacker world, the Awan brothers of the world. And it's especially dangerous when you have the support and backing of someone like a Gulen, and I'll get to that in his organization. But we're talking about this Trump server hack. They tried to make it look like the Trump server was communicating to Russian banks, but then there was this third interloper here, which was this Spectrum Health. So I called on Franklin Feor, F-E-O-R, to give me the source IP address from Spectrum Health. But usually what happens is you use a third email address to mail information back about what this Trojan is finding on the network, what servers it's finding, what usernames it's finding, what ports that are open, what it's finding. So there's this traffic back and forth to the interloper, right? So we've been drilling down on this. And as I said before, I believed it was for Loretta Lynch doing this FISA request and trying to convince these three judges. You only need to convince one judge to deny a FISA request, I believe, because otherwise it would take too long to convene the court. But if it got denied, which I believe it did in June, you would have to go to this three-person court of review, they call it. And since all three are Clinton appointees, but I think all you need is two to get the warrant, and that's what I believe happened through the Department of Justice. Okay, so drilling down here, I talked a little bit earlier about how this Suboxone is really deadlier and more addictive than heroin. So I talked about kind of how the government of here, the government Pakistan is moving toward that. They are all up in arms. The UN, the group about that monitors this in the UN, is recommending this move to Suboxone. It's really kind of a legalized heroin. And what I don't like about that is when you have people like Fethullah Gulen, who has, he's $25 billion drug empire, really. It's bad when you start mixing drug empires with health, because there's this natural inclination to try to legalize an illegal drug trade. And a lot of their advertisements, there's just this push, the Suboxone. They have people come in for an hour of counsel, and then they charge the insurance companies quite a bit of money for that. And a lot of times the discussions aren't very productive. So I'm obviously I've talked about Dr. Muzaffar Awan, who's the strongest proponent in the U.S. of Gulen, and he's a doctor, psychiatrist as well. What I just don't want to see is psychiatrists starting to prescribe the youth of America, hey, Suboxone is the way to go. Now, regarding the hack or whatever, I found this doctor. It was actually sent in by a researcher, Dr. Hassan Awan, who is from Spectrum Health. He studied in Waterloo, Iowa, I believe, and so he still has a Spectrum email address, and now he's in Grand Rapids. This is the type of thing where someone who knows him at that hospital is using his email for this hacking purposes. A lot of times it's a nurse or an orderly or someone in the IT department at the hospital, or sometimes it's the son or the daughter who's been radicalized and so forth. But I believe it's Hassan Awan's email that was used in the hack of Trump Tower. And I'll just go ahead and make that statement. Again, even though I'm Jewish, I've made many defenses of innocent Muslim people being attacked by none other than Andrew McCabe here in Portland for the Portland Christmas tree bomber. So this is not an attack on Muslims in any way, and we value our Muslim doctors incredibly. I'm sure Dr. Awan here is a fantastic surgeon, and I'm sure he's a hospitalist, I believe, and I'm sure Muzaffar Awan is also a great doctor. I just want to get away from this idea of the heroin, deadly heroines, and I want to get to the bottom of this hack of Trump. Now, again, I go on history. This is Amjad Awan with the BCCI. She has a long history with Hillary This Awan has a history with Hillary with doing Iran-Contra. Iran-Contra was the MENA airport. So there's a direct connect to Hillary here on this, and I'm just trying to drill down on it. The Awan brothers in Washington, D.C. had the top secret clearance, so we know they had access to the information. They had access to 31 different Democrats over their time, the 12 years. We know about the 20 burglaries. We know about the Russian ambassador acting as a go-between for the uranium deal and the Iran hostage deal. We know Greg Meeks' background in terms of what watchdog groups think of him. So we have followed the key committees, Select Committee on Intelligence, Homeland Security, and Foreign Affairs. This is critical information to foreign governments like the Muslim Brotherhood type governments. Andre Carson, obviously a Muslim American and a great representative, but he was hacked, and the Awan brothers are going to be a part of this discussion. Now, this should be an FBI investigation. I've got it down to the email address. I still can't get the source IP address, but I think you're going to find this information. This server is going to be in communication with that email address. You're going to find that. You want to find this server, you want to find this email address, go look at that email account, that hacked email account. So I'm going to just go ahead and make that statement right now. And again, not tilting windmills here. These are connections that have been reported in the past by known spies for Hezbollah and known go-betweens for Iran, like the Russian minister. So, wrapping up, here are the Awan brothers here. We still don't have pictures for Abid Awan and Jamal Awan. We do have the financial anomalies that I pointed out 3 times, 2.5 to 3 times earnings. We do know who the representatives are. We don't have any help from the FBI from, as far as pictures from ATM transactions. We don't have anything for the FBI on different car dealership transactions. I mean, they named their car dealership Cars International, and for some reason they had to add an A for CIA. So I think they wanted to give the impression to everyone on Capitol Hill that they were CIA and powerful and had hacking capabilities. You need to look at their movements. Because of the Foreign Affairs Committee, you need to look at oil, people they were meeting with in the oil business. Because they were on House Permanent Select Committee, you need to look at people who they met with in the defense industry. Sorry about the screen going dark there. So that's my reasoning for it's basically the committees. And I think also Homeland Security is going to be an interesting one as well in terms of people coming in from Syria and other of Trump's travel ban countries. Again here, sorry about that. We can get to the Flynn wiretap in a second. But again, looking at the metadata here has to be announced now for Huma and Hillary, because that will open this case up. This needs to be published. There's no secrets involved in this metadata. You can easily publish it. It'll give you dates and so forth. I also think the IP logs need to be established, because I think there's going to be a direct link between these IP addresses and the IP addresses of the Awan brothers and this server. That's all for this afternoon.